up close video. Today's one is for a Creative Expressions collection, which is the Papercuts Cut and Lift Festive collection for 2023. And the new thing about these Papercuts Cuts and Lift dies, they have done one collection already, I'm pretty sure, but for these festive ones they've also brought out coordinating stencils, which is absolutely fantastic because it allows you to add colour perfectly just to those like main cut and lift areas like so easily. I've done a little instructional kind of video on Creative Expressions channel, which I'll link in the description box below my video as well, just showing you exactly how to line up the stencils over the top of your die cuts and to create a finished card. I did that with the Christmas tree version as well. I do actually have that card here because I created a second one for that video, but I will walk through all 6 of the different designs and show you the stencils that are in here as well, because I actually got asked to make a few extra samples, so I have a nice little collection of like 10 samples to show you. So I thought I might as well film one of these up close videos whilst I have the whole collection of dies and stencils to show you as well, plus the samples. So the first one is called Bauble Bliss, and it's got some gorgeous bauble designs. They had I think it was last year, they did the Edger collections as their festive collection for Papercuts, and they had a fantastic bauble one last year with like 2 separate edges that kind of nestled together. So if you had that one, this one would work fantastically. You could have this in the centre of the card and have like the 2 bauble edges either side of it as well. I think it would look wonderful. I love Papercuts dies because CRaFTi, who designs them, she designs like fall away pieces within them as well. So not only will like this die cut and give you aperture little stars, you'll then have the little stars to use on things as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So this is the bauble one, and you have the 4 main baubles and a bell that actually do the cut and lift kind of property, but a lot of the other ones have the kind of fall away pieces, so you can save those pieces, stick them onto a super sticky post-it note or some post-it tape or something, add your colour to them and place them back in again, or you can cut from different colours and, you know, paper piece like that. If you were doing a batch making of lots of Christmas cards using one of these dies, you could cut it in multiple different colours and then paper piece back in the opposite kind of colours to the different coloured outlines as well. And then you could also use the stencil, rather than maybe inking onto white card, you could use the stencil to deepen the colour of whatever card you've cut the main piece out of, or you could use it as a guide for adding something sparkly or adding a little bit of glue, so you can add some glitter onto it as well. So it's really useful to have the stencil too. I have labelled all of my stencils, so if you want to write labels on your stencils, I'm just finding my pen here, the best pen to write on it is one of these Sharpies, and one of the ones that has the fine tip on the other end is perfect because you can just, you know, perfectly write finely rather than having to have a thick end and filling up most of your stencil to add your wording on there. And all of the dies have the same name, so this die is called Bauble Bliss and the stencil is also called Bauble Bliss as well. And also when you're labelling your stencils, you can see here it looks like I've labelled the wrong side, but you want to make sure that this way your stencil lines up, but then you flip it to label it, and then that will be the front, because obviously when you die cut this it will be back to front, and then the stencil will fit perfectly on top of it as well. So that is the first one, which is Bauble Bliss, and I have a couple of cards that I have done with this set. I didn't actually use it in its entirety, and this was a leftover background from one of the grey rubber background stamps that they brought out for Christmas as well. From when I was creating the cards for those shows, I had a leftover background, so I picked out some cardstocks in the same colour, and I just focused the piece of card on this one bauble here, and then cut it out 3 times, and then the fall away pieces for the bauble topper and also for the stars, I used some of the gold wax Lyrical on top of them to add that beautiful gold shine, and I also splattered some of that in the background to match it as well, and then I've just finished it off with a wordie. And then I also wanted to show you how you can just use elements of the stencil if you want to as well, and you could have done this with either of these two too, but sorry, it's upside down, but you can actually just create your own poinsettia kind of flower. So I used the circle bauble to do the centre, and then I used that longer skinnier bauble to do each of the petals, and I started with the 4 points of like a clock or a compass, and then just eyeballed putting 2 in between. And I just used a couple of colours of Distress ink. I used Festive Berries and Aged Mahogany to ink over that. Then I also watered down some wax Lyrical, the gold one, to go over the centre of it, and I also watered down some of the red Gilded Touch to do the outlines around the edge of that as well, and then again just a wordy in the centre. So there's a couple of samples with the Bauble Bliss die and stencil. So you can, I didn't actually use, for that sample I didn't actually use the stencil in conjunction with the die, but it just goes to show that you can use some of the stencil parts individually as well, which I think is really handy. Then the next one is called the Festive Trio, and it is a trio of 3 like little robins, or you could turn them into whatever festive kind of bird you want to. But they have their bellies that fall away, so you can turn them into gorgeous like sparkly bellied red robins as well. And you have Santa's hats on them, they're holding presents, they're holding little pieces of holly. This one's also got a Santa's hat on and a scarf on this one as well, and then presents at the bottom. And these are great for, again, saving those pieces, colouring them and adding them back in again. But you also have the stencil, which allows you, if I flip it the wrong way round, you can see where it fits on the actual die cut design. It allows you to add colour to all of the robins' bodies, and it also gives you a little piece to add colour to the remaining lift up piece of holly that's on there, and the hat on this one as well. The other one's hat is all fall away pieces, so again you can save those pieces, colour them and add them back in again. Same with the bodies and any bits on the presents too. Or the sample that I've done, I haven't actually paper pieced back in any of the pieces. I did a distress paint background that I had was just lying around on my desk, but I did it with some of those retired colours that they brought back because I got sent them by my lovely friend, and I decided to cut it into this because I thought it was a nice like neutral kind of setting for these little robins. And then I used the stencil to go back over the top with a little bit of brushed corduroy just to add in a little bit of depth of colour where those birds are, the little bit of holly and the hat as well. Then I cut another one from white and did a drop shadow on it, and then I stuck it onto CRaFTi card. So if you don't want to go to the effort of piecing back in, like colouring them separately, piecing back in the different pieces, it looks wonderful just as it is as well. And this also shows that even though this is maybe designed more for like a 5x7 card, you can still, I'd say, go for lining it up at the top so you get the whole top of the top robin on there, but you can still line it up and just cut off the bottom portion and use it on a smaller card as well, which is what I absolutely love to do. And obviously you can snip into them as well. If you wanted to, you could snip around the birds, maybe just give them an outside edge to them. It's a little bit harder to do for these birds because they're not as easy to snip around as the baubles, but it definitely could be done if you wanted to. You could sort of snip around them, give them a separate outside edge, or you could just focus on one of them and mat it into like a square frame as well. I think that would look wonderful too. So that is the Festive Trio, not Christmas Trio, Festive Trio, with the 3 little robin kind of birds. Then the third design is called Holly Berries. So this is a gorgeous overall holly kind of pattern with these beautiful berries. They kind of look like blueberries, but obviously they're supposed to be holly berries, and you've got the little cluster of them in the centre. But these just look so gorgeous. I love how she simplifies her designs when she does this kind of thing. They just look so lovely, and you do also get the fall away pieces. All of these ones give you the fall away pieces. I just had some of these ones left over, but you could use these for all sorts of different things. That could be a little lollipop for like a trick-or-treater for Halloween. You get like the skinny bits that fall out the centre of the holly leaves as well. You could use them as little twiggy branches for a snowman. You also get like the interior pieces of some of these holly leaves as well. So the stencil gives you the 4 cut and lift holly leaves to be able to stencil them in, but you do also have the fall away pieces in the other leaves as well. So if you want to, depending again on, you know, like how much time you're putting into the cards that you're creating, whether you're creating hundreds of them or just a couple, you might want to save these pieces and colour them and put them back in again and again, depending on where you've put your die on your card. Are you making it smaller? Are you using the whole thing? You know, it might determine what kind of technique you're going to go for. with your cards as well. But beautiful design, this one. And I decided for this one, I was going to create a second card. I didn't quite like how it was turning out, but I decided to do this for one of the cards. So this one, I actually took 2 of Sue Wilson's double stitch circles, cut them together, and then tucked it underneath the lifted up leaves of the holly leaves, and it worked so well because I didn't have to snip into it anymore. Sometimes when you do this kind of thing, you're having to make your own snips to be able to tuck the frame around it, but you can actually tuck that circle frame around that without having to cut into any of these leaves as well, which I think is really lovely. I also added some red to the centerpiece, and then behind the leaves, the fall away center from the frame, I actually just took that and I took the holly leaf portions of this and just inked them all over the circle, so there are like extra holly leaf looking pieces behind that central circle, because I just took that plain circle, used the outside bits of the holly leaves just as holly leaf shapes to create a little background piece behind there as well, and I think it works really, really nicely. And I did this one so it's just colour inside the frame. All of the rest of it is left white on white, and doesn't it look so pretty? So even if you don't want to use the stencils or get the stencils or add any colour to them at all, this one in particular looks fantastic, just like white on white. And the other idea that I was going to do is cutting it from vellum and then just putting it onto a colour. I wasn't 100% sure if I liked it, so I haven't actually completed it as a card, but it could be another idea of how to use these. You can still manipulate the vellum to stick up as well in the cut and lift kind of areas, but I just thought I would show it as I had it cut here for you as well. But it's a really interesting one, this one, and these, like, I suppose they're kind of like ivy sort of leaves, a really interesting kind of shape as well. And on the stencil you actually get the pieces to be able to add colour to the holly leaves. Have I got that the right way around? It's upside down. You've got the stencil to be able to add colour to those 4 holly leaves, which I did on my card, but you also have the stenciling to add it to those ivy kind of leaves as well. So you could add a little bit of yellow inking in the middle, or like antique linen or something, and add green around the edges, and you don't have to be careful about getting it onto the background. If you've ever had one of the cut and lift type dies before and you've tried to add colour to it, often it takes you a long time to colour it in because you've got to be so careful going around things. But having these stencils just makes it so easy to add colour to the design, and I really love the fact that they've brought these out now to go with these, having the actual stencils to work with them. So that is the holly berries. Then this is my favourite one. This is the gorgeous Snowflake Sparkle. I absolutely adore this one. I only just got this one yesterday, and I made all these samples yesterday with these as well. But I absolutely adore this one. I think it is fantastic, and again, the stencil is perfect just for using by itself as well. Just have a smaller snowflake and then a gorgeous star design too, but obviously it's designed to work in conjunction with it, so you can place this over the top and get the perfect colouring on all of these elements. And on this one as well as colouring the cut and lift pieces, it also gives a little bubbly area around these little dot details that cut out, and that looks fantastic on your card when you've done it as well. And the cut and lift kind of details on this one are these main like little arms of this snowflake here. These arms here, they cut and lift up as well, and then there's like multiple little cut and lifts within this star design as well, but really, really gorgeous. And I love here, there's like holly leaves in the centre of this snowflake. I love the bubble design. I just absolutely adore that. That's how I would kind of embellish with gems, so I love that they're like different sort of sizes coming out of it. You've got lots of fall away stars again, fall away circles, these little pieces. You could even use one of those as like a stylised golf tee for a different kind of card, and that could even be a little golf ball as well. So there's so many different like fall away pieces in these that you can use for different ones as well. And you've also got a little snowflake there, this kind of little pointy starburst thing as well. So you've got extra embellishments for different cards. Maybe you're creating a batch of like 10 of these ones, then you would end up with 10 of these little ones that you could then scatter across some other cards that you're creating as well. So really, really like this one. one, and especially like the stencil on this one, because you don't even have to have the die. You could just use a stencil to create some cards as well, like this one that I created. So this one is using the larger snowflake with some speckled egg and some pumice stone in the background, and then I use salvage patina, this is oxides as well, salvage patina to do the smaller snowflake on the top of this. And then I came back in with the gorgeous teal coloured Gilded touch and splattered that on top of it too. And then just finished it off with a couple of wordies as well. This is from the Ha 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 Happy set, which has got like really funny punny kind of sentiments in it as well. So that is just using the stencil, and then this one is using the die and the stencil, and I love this one, and I do reckon this could be a batch making kind of Christmas card as well. And for this one again, the die is larger, so it works for like 5x7 sort of cards, but there's nothing to stop you from lining it up more towards one end and getting this design complete, or more towards the other end and getting this gorgeous design complete as well. So it's really, really versatile kind of one that can be used larger or can be used on smaller cards as well. And for this one I had another piece of this background. I can't remember what it was actually. I think it might have been distress paint as well actually, just a leftover background, and I really loved that colour scheme with the snowflakes. So in the background I've put that bright coloured piece, plus I put a little bit of lavender ultra sparkle paste on there. And ultra sparkle paste, if you've never tried it before, it's basically like glitter bits but in a suspension that, you know, immediately glues it down, and you can use it three-dimensionally as well. And if you've never heard of glitter bits before, they're also from Cosmic Shimmer, and they are like 3 different size particles of glitter in the same pot, and you can get all sorts of different ones. This is just a plain colour version. I think you can actually get the same colours in ultra sparkle paste as in normal glitter bits as well, and this one is just the plain colour one. You can also get holographic glitter bits, but I don't think they do holographic glitter bits in the ultra sparkle paste. I don't think they do. If they do, I don't think I have any of them. And then for the inking on this one, I used Shaded Lilac, Wilted Violet and Seedless Preserves to match the colours, because I think for this background I had used Seedless Preserves and Wilted Violet Distress Paint, so the colours went absolutely perfectly for this as well. And then I just added some splats of those same colours of Distress Inks too, just to add a little bit of extra detail in the background. But isn't that just gorgeous? So simple and just so effective as well. I really, really like that one. And then I've just used Winter Wonderland as my little wordy sentiment on that one. And don't forget, with those wordies, I did do a video on it as well. You can foil them if you want to. I do really love the black on white, but you definitely can foil them as well. You also get white and black, white on black in the packets as well. But I do prefer the black on white version, and you can foil them with different foils. And there's a full video on my channel showing like which foils are better for foiling those as well. So there's those 2 cards for the Snowflake Sparkle. Then there is also this one, which would probably appeal more for children's kind of cards. This one is called Jolly Santa, and it's a beautiful design with a really cheerful Santa like popping out of this circle kind of aperture sort of piece, with gorgeous stars in the background. His hat lifts up, his pom-pom lifts up, his hands lift up, his beard lifts up, his moustache lifts up, and the stencil for this is brilliant as well, because it allows you to add a subtle white colouring to his beard and like pom-pom and moustache. It allows you to add a red hat. You can easily add colour to his hands as well, so you can pick whatever skin tone you want. You can do a black belt really nice and easily for his outfit. And then if you move the stencil across, you also have the little piece to be able to colour your holly in as well. So not only do you have all of those elements, you can also colour the holly in, and they've done it separately so it doesn't interfere with the hat one too. You don't get the stencil to colour his outfit in, and in the original card that I've done, that I've already sent off to Creative Expressions, I did ink blend this. And if you want to ink blend around here, what you can do when it is die cut out, you can push his beard backwards and slip a piece of scrap paper in there so it's covering his beard, and then you can actually ink around this much easier. Or you could just colour it in with your alcohol pens or watercolours as well if you want to. Or for the card that I have got that I just made yesterday, this was a leftover background. I did these ages ago. I feel like I did do a sped up video on it. This was using the crystal tints and the pearl tints from Cosmic Shimmer, and they react and give like a cool cell-like appearance, like with acrylic pouring and stuff. They give like really cool reactions when you put crystal tints down first and then you put pearl tints down on top of them. And I thought, wouldn't Santa look fantastic wearing an outfit out of this? So I cut it out and then trimmed off the hat and trimmed out his little jacket as well, and then also the fall away stars. I just put some of those in the background too, and he looks so cute. And I love that you can piece back in some of the details as well. So you can piece back in the white cuffs, you can piece back in his face as well. If you save all of the face pieces and the mouth piece and then ink them with your colours and put them back in again, he looks really cool too. And you can also do the background behind there. I did a blue circle behind there, and I've also put some gold kind of vellum behind the background as well, just to add a subtle sparkle to those stars too. So that is the first one with the Santa. Then I wanted to show you ways of just using the stencil. Now this is one of the cards that I already sent off, but look how cute that looks. Just drawing around, like using them as a stencil to get your colouring on there, and then just drawing around them with a doodly scribbly border to give like the suggestion of Santa Claus. I think that's a really different kind of way of using it. And then I also, because I was making extra ones, I also thought, well, I love the hands on this, so thanks for lending a hand this Christmas. I thought that's quite a nice kind of card to make. So I've done a wreath of hands with the holly leaves mixed in as well, because you also get that separate holly leaf bit. So I thought that was a really different kind of way of using just the stencil by itself too. So you've got that card as well. And then the final set that is in this collection is the one that I've used on the sort of instructional video that's on Creative Expressions YouTube channel, and this is the Yuletide Spruce. And this one actually has 3 dies in the set. All of the other ones are just one single die, but this one has 3 dies in here. 2 of them are cut and lift dies. This one is actually just an aperture kind of die, where you get all of these gorgeous little fall away pieces, which I'm sure would be extremely useful for all sorts of things, because I know my mum in particular, whenever I give her like a tonic die set that I've had a duplicate of, she's always like, oh, I love all the little fall away pieces, all the little like curly cues and stuff that are in there. So you know, this Creative Expressions die has got some beautiful fall away pieces that you can use from there as well. Lots of stars and lots of like swirly bits too. There's also gorgeous swirly bits in the holly one as well. I did also do some extra samples that I've already sent off, just using those 2 pieces as well, using this one as a stencil and using this one as a couple of borders with a sentiment in the centre. But I don't have those ones to show you. I could show you a photo of them as well, but I'm sure you will have seen them being advertised with Creative Expressions. So this is the Yuletide Spruce, and you have that gorgeous tree in the centre. It's my absolute favourite, this one. Well, the Snowflake and this one, my absolute favourites. But I really, really love this one because it is proportioned really nicely to fit on my favourite size of card. They've made it a little bit shorter than some of the other designs, so you don't have to sacrifice a part of the star or the pot. It fits perfectly on my favourite size of card. And if you love A6 cards, they're slightly taller than my favourite size, so they would be even more perfect size-wise for fitting your tree on there. Or you can do it onto a larger card and matte and layer it up if you want to as well. But that is the Yuletide Spruce. And you can see it's got like fall away baubles, the fall away pot, the gorgeous holly leaves in there, and then this one also has cut and lift holly leaves that are solid rather than with that detail down the centre of them as well. And the stencil you've got works perfectly with all of the holly leaves on the tree, which is fantastic, and you can also use it for the holly leaves on the border as well. So if you want them to have a little bit of colour on, you can use it on there as well, which is fantastic. So a really useful stencil again, but also it just has some beautiful holly leaves on there that you can just use to accent your cards as well, or create a background like I did behind the holly berries one, where I used the larger holly leaf in that stencil. You could combine it with the smaller holly leaves in this stencil as well. And then the 2 samples that I've got with these, this is the original one that I recreated in the video for Creative Expressions, and I just used a wordie on this one to say have a wonderful Christmas. But behind here is some gorgeous holographic glitter bits. So really, really pretty holographic glitter bits behind all of those details. And then I put foam tape behind everything, coloured these baubles and the star and the pot individually with distress inks, and then put them back in there as well. And I was also showing in that video that because you've got that stencil, you can do lots of cool ink blending on them as well. So I completely inked them with Twisted Citron, and then I came back in, I think it was with Lucky Clover or Pine Needles, and added a little bit of stippling with the darker colour on there as well. So you can do your gorgeous two-tone ink blending without having to be really careful about going outside of the die cut kind of area as well. But not only can you use them as the cut and lift versions, you can also cut out those holly leaves as well. So this was a really old background that I had. It was a few years ago now. I let myself have like a couple of weeks just playing with my jelly plate, and I embossed a lot of pieces of cardstock and then was using them as like texture plates on my jelly plate. And this one had bits of gold, bits of purple and some dark green on it. So I took this scrap piece, ink blended some Lucky Clover all over it and a bit of Pine Needles as well, and maybe a bit of Rustic Wilderness too, and just covered it with green to create an overall background. And then the acrylic paint that was on there kind of resisted some of the areas, and then I just cut the tree out of the centre of it and used my scissors to snip away those holly leaves. So you've literally just got an aperture of a tree then, and I thought Jolly Holidays as the little wordy sentiment would work perfectly on that one. So I hope you enjoyed this up-close video looking at the Papercuts Cut and Lift Festive Collection for 2023 from Creative Expressions, and looking through all 6 of the different die sets that are in this collection, plus the matching stencils that go with them as well, that just make it so quick and easy to add colour to the designs, but also allow you to create extra cards just using the stenciled designs as well. So really hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget, if you want to see a proper kind of quick 2-minute sort of tutorial with annotations of how to create this card, lining up your stencils and everything as well, I will put the link to the video on the Creative Expressions YouTube page down below as well in the description box. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!